Live it says, and live we are. Welcome along to Talking Con, cup of tea and Englishman in San Diego. No cup of tea for me. I've got a very large 2-pinter of liquid because I need to hydrate. It's been a weekend. Hello, everybody. Welcome along. If you are watching in the first couple of minutes of the show and you're watching live, that means you are indeed a subscriber, and I really appreciate you coming on board and subscribing with us. Like, subscribe, comment, of course. It all helps with the channel, spreading the word. Please do. Andrew English is watching. Hello from London. Hello, Andrew. How are you doing, Squire? Yes, it's something that I'm going to be doing this week. I'm going to be sitting down and I'm going to be sorting out some animations and little bits of bumps and idents for the show to make it look a little bit more profesh. And yeah, do lots of little on-screen animations to remind you to like, subscribe, and comment. Please do, because it's something that I think we need to kind of emphasize a bit more and just let people know that what we do on a Sunday. I know we had some technical issues last week as well, and I'll talk about that on the show in a second. But in the meantime, jump in on the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, what you're up to. Are you at Emerald City? Because we've got ourselves 2 roving reporters who are going to be joining us a little bit later to bring us on up to speed with everything that's happened in Seattle over the course of the weekend so far, because it's not done yet. We are talking one more day of Emerald City Comic Con on the way. Michael P is saying hello. We got Toby as well. How are you feeling? Are you feeling any better, sir? Because yeah, you weren't too good last week. What else? We've got some news about a incidental episode. I'm going to talk about this now while I've got a minute of your time. Wednesday, the 6th. Do keep yourself available about this time, because we're going to have a very special guest, a award-winning, multi-titled, an incredibly busy chap in terms of comics, and we're doing a very special incidental episode on Wednesday. Mr. Tom King, creator of books such as Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and oh, good God, too many titles to mention, really, because he really is quite a busy chap. But yes, Tom King is going to be joining us live on Wednesday. We were thinking, well, should we do a kind of do a little bit of a strange sort of like pre-record and show it on the show on a Sunday? No, I think it's only best we do the Sunday show as normal, and then we do a special incidental episode. That's this Wednesday, the 6th, talking to Tom King, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to it. It is the top of the hour. Let's do Talking Con for this week, shall we? Hello there, and welcome along to Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana, and this is the show where every week we talk comics, Comic-Cons, and all the stuff and nonsense in between, the things that we get to enjoy at such shows, and some other bits and pieces as well. I'll explain about that a little bit later on in the show. It is Talking Con, a cup of tea. No cup of tea for me because I'm hydrating like a mofo. I am on the 2-pinter of liquid because it has been a hell of a weekend, but hopefully you have had a fun weekend so far, especially if you are attending Emerald City Comic Con. If you are there, hope you have a good time, and indeed if you're kind of tuning into this while you're wandering around, or if you're in a queue somewhere, or if you're just kind of like spending 5 minutes of your time, maybe you want to just drop in. Let us know what you're up to. How is Emerald City for you? How is Seattle treating you? Do let us know. Last week, I really want to say thank you very much indeed to Arthur Newman for joining us to talk about his show. I am hoping to get a remastered version of that episode because thankfully I use StreamYard as my streaming service for the episodes. And one of the new features to StreamYard is that they are able to record locally all the streams, input and output for the various elements of the show so that you can in fact reconstitute them in any fashion that you see fit later. And also it just comes straight directly from the camera, so it's not getting interrupted by any internet connection, which means, fingers crossed, I may be able to reconstitute the episode and do a remastered version that I'm hopefully going to get up before the beginning of next week, or beginning of next week. The reason why I really want to get that up is because it really was a great episode. The chat was fun. The subject was great. Arthur did a great job of coming on and talking about his Kickstarter. Do check out the episode when I get that up, hopefully at the beginning of the week. Also, hopefully, we're going to kind of cut down a little bit on the technical issues as well, because not only is Talkin Con brought to you by a very large container of liquid to keep me hydrated, but it's also brought to you by the TP-Link Deco, because, I needed to spend a little bit of money on my internet to kind of make it a little bit more solid. So hopefully, this is a better stream. It's a little bit better quality. Yes, other mesh devices are available, but that's the one I've gone for, and I've got those around the house, and one of them now I have in this room, so directly connected to the computer. Hopefully things are a little bit more solid. Please do let me know how the stream goes for you this week. I really wanted to make sure as well that everything was nicely in place for this week as well, because at the end of the day we have ourselves a special live guest that's joining us very shortly indeed. I'm going to bring him on, and I'm going to let him know that we're going to be looking forward to him coming on and joining us. Yes, we're going to be doing our first live report of this season, which is great. We're going to be, says looks blurry to me. I'm not going to wipe the lens because it might just be the lens, but you never know. It might just be me, Michael. I mean, Michael's saying this looks blurry to me. You know that this could be the blur, right? This could be it. The face, it really could be. Says lower res. I'm at 1080p. I think it might be the camera. I might have, look, I'll spend what I can, right? I really will do what I can. But there we go. We've got lots of people who are joining us. Hello there, everybody. Leanne D saying hello, you lovely people. Miss you all. We have missed you as well. It's been a long time. I sent you a message the other day. Hopefully you got that through. Yeah, hopefully you're okay. Michael B, nope, it's the internet or the camera. Are you certain? Look at the face. It could be this. Could be blurry me. But there we go. Who else have we got? Andrew English is soaking his feet after attending London Film Comic Con that was happening this weekend, and saying, despite however small LFCC was, I got almost 500 pictures to work over. I do get that link to his Facebook page. Do pay attention to an Englishman in San Diego and the Convention Center, Convention Collective, sorry, on Facebook. I'll do what I can. When he gets those pictures prepped, we'll get those up on and we'll show those about. So no, looking forward to seeing those, Andrew, of course. Better on my iPad than my monitor. Who knows? It's smaller and might be ready for you. But no, a couple of updates as well. We're going to be talking about comics and VR in a bit. We've got my socials of the week. We've got the comic of the week as well. But we've also got a little bit of news for you, considering that we've got ourselves our first incidental episode. It's all a week of first this week. Our first incidental episode of season 11. And it's going to be happening this Wednesday. Wednesday the 6th. Hopefully you can join us, as we're going to be joined by this very, very special guest. The option was to actually pre-record it and then put it out as a kind of like piggyback onto this live stream. But I didn't like the sound of that, because then you wouldn't be able to ask him any questions. Tom King, award-winning writer of numerous comics of much renown, The Vision, Mr. Miracle, Strange Adventures, Danger Street, Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow, or Woman of Tomorrow, which I will be asking him about, considering that is going to be apparently the basis for the Supergirl film. But no, that's going to be happening 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, the same time as you would get your Sunday show. We're going to be doing that on Wednesday, the 6th, talking to Tom King. Really looking forward to that. So I think I'm going to hit this button, and I'm going to send the invite to Dan to join us, because I really want to talk about Emerald City Comic Con. It is the first major North American con happening for 2024, and it is the first big fan con of the year, considering you're looking at over 85,000 attendees descending on the Seattle Convention Center, 21st edition of Emerald City Comic Con. And yeah, some really big news coming out of it as well. You've got Kieran Gillen doing a spotlight panel and interview as well. You've got some great panels from the likes of Dark Horse with Brian Michael Bendis and Becky Cloonan, all coming on stage and talking about what they've been getting up to and how they craft their work. Apparently the cosplay has been absolutely phenomenal this show round, and you've had Chris Evans on stage talking that he wants a fantasy movie like Lord of the Rings. I think he's been watching what The Witcher and what Henry Cavill's been doing, going, you know what, I want to do that. I don't doubt what he's been getting up to. So, Emerald City Comic Con, it's time to find out exactly what it looks like. We have our live report from Dan Berry. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Good to have you back on the show. Season 11, first time on. Yep. Thank you for coming back and doing us a live report as well. First things first, Emerald City. I've been reading some exceptionally good vibes coming out of this show online. It's really looking like it's gone down an absolute storm. How's it been for you? What have you been up to?
Just kind of wandering out of Sally, picking up sketches like always, just checking everything out. Yeah.
They're not here. I was about to say hi to Kieran and say hi to Casper, but it's 10 a.m. They don't get out of bed that early.
Yes. It's still early. They're probably, show floor's only been open 9 minutes. Yeah. So they're probably not here yet.
The doors have literally just opened. We were hopefully going to be joined by Ali Raphael as well, but unfortunately, she's been a little bit waylaid due to being incredibly busy. She's been around interviewing people and catching up with everybody. How busy have you been? What have you been up to?
Not as busy as her. I mean, I hit up a couple panels yesterday. The Shelley Bondemark Buckingham panel. Shelley says hi, by the way.
Oh, excellent stuff.
Yeah. I can actually probably walk down there because she's at her table right
now. I'm not entirely sure that she'll be kicking around at this point either.
Oh, no, she is here.
It's possible.
She is here. I already said hi to her this morning, so I know her and Philip are already here.
Oh, right, okay. Fair enough.
Yes. It's
not looking bad for the first 10 minutes of the show. It's looking quite busy already.
Yeah, I think they said yesterday was the busiest Saturday they've ever had.
Wow.
In terms of attendance for the floor.
Is that just fan anticipation, first big show in North America of the year? Is that just kind of everyone, okay, dusting off the cobwebs, let's get back into it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, Emerald City's always been one of the bigger shows up here, so, and it felt that way yesterday.
Excellent. And how is Artist Alley in this? Because, I mean, you hear a lot about the panels, you hear a lot about the cosplay out of Emerald City. What is the Artist Alley like for you? How do you do it?
The artist is always really exceptional, and this year's no exception.
Highlights for you?
Yeah. One more time?
Highlights for you?
I got, let's see, I got a bit of a sketch from Philip on, Lucas Kettner, and Ray Anthony Hyde. And then today I'll probably just hit up some other ones. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I left. Yeah.
Legend. Absolute legend. There you go. Stan Sakai. Very nice indeed.
Yep. And there's your buddy Shelley.
And there's Shelley.
Yes. Say hi to Leonard.
Leonard.
How you doing? Yeah, just say hi to her. Lots of love to you, Shelley.
Yeah, he says hi. Yes. Cheers.
Nice. Repping the background, love it. And of course, all the ink stuff from Philip J. Bond as well. Lots and lots of joy on the table there. Excellent stuff. Like I say, it's looking really busy or nice for a Sunday morning. It's looking very tidy indeed.
Yeah, exactly. It's really packed already for this early in the morning, more so than I thought it would have been.
So I'm seeing Onipress there. I mean, what has been the big kind of like booths and the kind? Who have been the absentees and who's the ones that have kind of filled the void?
Can you repeat?
Who's been kind of like making the big splash on the floor? Who's got the big booths and who's been missing?
Well, I mean, I think Oni and IDW are the two biggest publishers here, and the only I think them and Mad Cave, I think, and Stranger Comics are the only publishers here. So the publishers kind of lacking this year. Yeah, no Image, no DC, no Marvel. Yeah, none of the bigger ones.
They're starting to make that a little bit too regular for me for when it comes to the big cons. They seem to, they're almost feeling that we're not worth it anymore, which is a shame. But it does mean that people like Onipress and Dark Horse can kind of fill the void and show what they've got.
Yep. And here's Mad Cave's group and IDW. Yeah.
Maverick, don't know about them. Okay. IDW,
Maverick is
not the biggest booth, but certainly. Oh, hang on, just send it around to IDW again.
Yep, there's IDW.
Not the biggest booth in the world, but yeah, they're representing. They're doing what they do.
Yep. And they got a few exclusives here, and then back over to the Artist Alley side of it.
We've got ourselves our old friends from CBCS doing the round. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, no CGC this year. Just CBCS maintaining everything. Yep. Which was kind of a surprise because they're usually always here.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Let's see if Kieran and it looks like Kieran. Nope, still not here.
You'd be very, very, very lucky to see them before 11 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see who else can we walk down and see.
I mean, like I say, you've been to a couple of panels, and it sounds like you've been to a couple of the creator ones. Well, what other panels have you been to go to? Mark Buckingham.
Yeah, Mark Buckingham. I went to the Kieran Gillen panel, and I went to what's the other panel? The Bad Idea panel.
Really? Now then, so I mean, I'm signed up for their mailing list. If anybody is signed up for Bad Idea, you get a Bad Idea email every couple of days, and they like to rock the boat. How was their panel?
Yeah.
Was it pretty straightforward, or were they there to kind of like make some noise?
It was pretty straightforward. They kind of talked about all the stuff that they put out so far, and then talked about their new book, which is coming, which they gave everybody in attendance a copy of. Yeah, it's written by Doug Wagner. It's called A Good Boy. So I'll be checking that out later. I got a copy for you. So yeah, when I see you, I'll give you your copy.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. Yeah, I tried to get two copies, one for me and one for you. So
I'm trying to catch the glimpses of the people you're passing. I'm Trevor Miller. I follow. I'm a big fan of his on the socials. Good writer. Jeffrey Brown's table there.
Yeah.
Fantastic artist and cartoonist.
Yeah, Ben Temple Smith, who's not here yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't expect many of the Brits.
Yeah. Yep, it's still early. Yeah, they'll probably be rolling in the next hour or so.
There's this reputation that we have of being able to outdrink all of you in the US, and we like to hold up to that. So yeah.
Yep. Oh, yesterday we went out to a pub yesterday, and yeah, sitting right next to us was Todd Knock eating with his wife.
As long as you didn't disturb him, it's he's off the clock. He's with the missus.
Yep. Just having a good dinner. Yeah. It was an English style pub.
Ah, right.
Yes. So it's good food. And now, yeah.
I'm seeing some the sort of like creators, independent illustrators, and lots of little small, sort of like small creators. It looks really well curated.
That's one thing that's always good about.
Yeah.
Emerald City's always been good about a lot of independent creators. Yeah.
Excellent. Like I say, just keep my eye open. If anything catches my eye, I'll ask you to point the camera a little bit closer and have a look.
Cool.
I mean, then again, anything that catches your eye, of course, Dan, because you're the one with the camera. You're the one with the arbiter of taste, sir.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, after this, let me walk down to the comma sketch art area and see who's over there.
Cool.
Yeah, because they have a whole, as usual, they have a whole little row set up with some of their talent.
Cool. So, I mean, it's sounding like a really positive vibe. It's sounding like it's looking like a really busy room already, which is great.
Yeah. Sorry.
Any kind of things that have surprised you? Anything that's kind of jumped out and just gone, oh, they do this better at Emerald City than anywhere else?
I mean, ReedPOP knows what they're doing, so all their shows are usually well curated and usually just move really. The flow is really well. And I see, I'm walking down now. I'm the comic sketch writer. I see Mr. Zdarsky over there.
Excellent stuff. Yes. Now this is coming to get these guys up on the podcast to talk about them because they really do a great job of curating some great artists and writers on their tables. They do add a little bit of a premium, and they do make those tables some of the most expensive at most cons. But the talent list that they get involved are absolutely stunning. Yeah, there you go. Chip Zarsky, saying hi. Mascot, it's good, interesting to see. What's that been like in terms of people protecting themselves? What's masking been like at this show?
I probably want to say maybe 10-15% of attendees.
And the creators?
Can you hear me? Creatives, probably less than that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's people obviously keeping it nice and straight as best they can. I mean, obviously the pair of us follow a couple of creators who are very concerned about rises of numbers and keep staying safe. So people who are looking after themselves and looking after other people, I think they appreciate it. Very, very good. Who I'm certain is going down very well. I'm going to be talking about her a bit later with books that she's got coming out at the moment.
Cool.
Table as well. Yeah, there's one or two that are behind their tables, but the vast majority are still kind of rocking up.
Yeah, Mr. Sharp. His table.
Yeah, Liam will be a while yet.
Yeah.
Liam will just he'll be showing up shortly.
Yes.
I'm surprised that you don't actually bump into a bunch of them walking in through the door.
And people just keep flowing in. Yeah.
Cool. So what's been the things that people have been talking about when it comes to Emerald City? I mean, news that you've been hearing, any headlines that have been coming out of the show? What's been the chatter at Emerald City this year? Good crowds. I mean, some people are complaining about because like Chris Evans and all them. Yeah, so like the celebrities are in a different building, which is 3 blocks away, which kind of is not that great. So it's a little bit of a trek going back and forth. Yeah. So if you want to go over there, you have to actually leave this building, brave the Seattle cold, walk 3 blocks, and then over there. Fair enough.
Yep.
A number of cosplayers there. Again, it's looking like a nice, positive vibe, nice and bright. Everyone's looking relaxed.
Yes. Yep.
I'm not going to say they're all looking hungover because they're looking quite bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're looking all right.
Yep. It's too early. Yeah. Once everybody starts rolling in a couple hours.
That's a great booth that Oni have put together. That looks really good over there.
Yeah, IDWC does really well. And Camila de Erico, who's been interviewing the show a few times.
Indeed.
Yes.
Fantastic illustrator. And just an amazing cartoonist. And yeah, certainly someone whose star is on the rise, Camila de Erico. Good. Zillow.
Yes.
Somebody who I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, and her husband is right on the other side of her.
Caleb King. Don't know who that is. That's a fresh face to me. There we go. But no, looking forward to seeing what you're going to come up with when it comes to your interviews and see who you've got chatted up with. Who you managed to talk to? Who you managed to interview so far?
One more time.
Who have you managed to interview so far?
Great.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
No, I think he's struggling with the sound. Yeah, who you managed to speak to? Who are you going to talk to?
I've talked to. God, I really haven't done any interviews yet. I need to. Yeah, but most of it, I've like talked to Shelley for a little bit. I've talked to Ben Templesmith for a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to pick up something today from Buckingham. Just kind of taking it all in.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see what you do get with Buckingham, because that man, phenomenal artist, and yeah, looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. Cool. I will send you a picture. He's been working on it. Yeah.
Okay, we've got two comments. You got Andrew English turning around saying Emerald City looks a lot warmer than LFCC. I went to the wrong con. Well, yeah, you went to London in February, March, mate. What do you expect? And you've also got Sinistrous Meg saying, "Man, I feel I'm being priced out. SDCC hotels and Airbnb priced out of control." What's Emerald City like? What's Seattle like as a con? Is it expensive? Is it affordable?
No, I mean,
what's your feeling on that as someone who goes through his fair share of cons?
In terms of hotel price, everything's going to be cheaper than SDCC. I think, it depends on how close you want to stay, but usually you can get a room for about somewhere in the low 100s a night. For cheaper if you want to stay further out. There's somebody we know, Mr. Rob Salkowitz.
Oh,
I'm
hello
live with Leonard right now. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He says hi.
Looking forward to. Tell him I want to try and get him back on the show, man.
Okay. Hey, Rob, Leonard's looking forward to getting you back on the show.
Oh, anytime.
Okay, he says anytime.
Oh, look at that. There you
Rob
go.
says anytime. Oh,
and
sorry.
Eunice as well. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Yeah, let's let the happy couple move on. Excellent stuff.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you get off and enjoy the rest of the con and catch as many people as you can. Like I say, I can see a bunch of tables still covered. People are still rocking up to the show and still coming in.
Look how crowded it is right now.
A little bit of a vibe of Emerald City. How's it felt to you? Has it felt positive? Has it just felt enthusiastic? How's it felt to you?
The vibe has always been good. I mean, it's a very, very fan-friendly con, and as you can see, tons of artists, tons of great creatives, both major and independent, and interesting cosplays.
Indeed. Okay. That's just freaky. You can move on.
Cool.
Outstanding. Cool. I mean, it's looking amazing. It's looking like the vibe is back for 2024. Some great talent. Yeah, some great talent. And it's looking like you say, ReedPOP have managed to slam back into the year nice and energetically. Looking good. Yep. Excellent stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what interviews and bits and pieces you come up with. Really looking forward to seeing what Ali comes up with as well, because we've got Ali Raphael, who's also in attendance for the Convention Collective. Looking forward to that and seeing what interviews and bits and pieces have coming out of the show. But no, I'm going to let you get off. What have you got planned for the day? Is there any panels or anything you've got planned specifically today?
Not really. I didn't look at the schedule and see what pops out of me and see if I want to walk over or walk either to the other building for the panel or upstairs here, because some panels are in the other building. Like the Bad Idea one yesterday, I had to walk to the other building, which is 3 blocks away.
That's a strange vibe to set up 2 rooms for that, and over some distance. That's very strange. But there we go. Listen, thank you very much indeed for joining us, Dan. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing what you bring back to us, sir.
Cool, sounds good. Now, I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay. I'm going to mute him. I'll let him carry on pointing the camera for as long as he's still here, but he's done it already. But there we go. Yeah, Emerald City Comic Con. I mean, like I say, the news has been incredibly positive coming out of the show. And also just like I say, what headlines have been coming out of Seattle. But yeah, the guest list has been looking incredible. Fantastic cosplay. You've got, like I say, the Kieran Gillen panel that was just yesterday. He's there alongside Casper Wingard at his table. But the reason why that's happening is because Kieran is continuing his domination of Planet X-Men, and he's going to be doing a new series, The Power Fantasy, with Casper. Casper is an astonishing artist. Why he's not more well known across the comics landscape, I would highly recommend checking out any books that Casper Wingard has done. But no, what he's going to do with Kieran Gillen, that I think will be something very special. Adventure Time, that was apparently a very exciting panel, and a lot of people really getting involved in that. Let's see what else was I made some notes just to jumping out. Yeah, the Chris Evans panel it certainly seems to be the big headliner from yesterday, with Chris Evans talking about how he'd love to do a fantasy show. He's wanting to move on for superheroes and now looking at things like The Witcher and other Game of Thrones. He would like to do a more of a D&D kind of property. Talked about his time with Marvel, though, of course, and saying that The Winter Soldier was his favorite of the MCU efforts, not just of his own, but across the board. So, yeah, the man has taste. Yeah, great film, and understandable why. But no, it's just looking like Emerald City Comic Con has just done an amazing job. And thank you very much indeed for Dan for joining us and bringing that to the show. So there we go, Emerald City Comic Con. Excellent stuff indeed. Right. Want to talk about a couple of things. Number one, let's take this as a little bit of a break to say, please do like, subscribe, put the thumbs up, put your comments down below. Keep the comments coming in. We've got 1 or 2 people talking about the cosplay that kind of freaked me out a little bit there. Quail Man from Doe says, Andrew English, thank you very much indeed for pointing that out to me. Let's just pick up on that comment. Solicitor Smeg saying, man, I feel I'm being priced out of SDCC hotels and Airbnb prices out of control. I haven't checked out SDC hotels yet, but I can say that Airbnb, you're absolutely right. But then again, Airbnb is kind of like on a back foot, so they do seem to be being very pressured to kind of get as many bodies in as they start losing grip on the market to try and get people using Airbnb. And it does feel like there's a little bit of price gouging going on there. So how it's going to operate around San Diego this year, who knows? But there we go. But well, yeah, once again, Michael P saying, remember to hit the thumbs up button, hit the like. Please subscribe, of course, hit the button down below, turn all the notifications on as well. Really helps with the channel and lets more people know that we are live each and every Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. Right. This next thing that I want to talk about, I am hopefully going to be submitting panels, or have submitted panels for San Diego Comic Con this year, and I'm hoping to attend as a panelist again. Wanting to do a couple of comics panels. Won't be doing the Miracle Man panel again because I did the Miracle Man panel, and kind of said it was going to be one of the big properties of the year, except we only got the Neil Gaiman Miracle Man, and that just kind of like just faded along and did its thing. But I was expecting a whole bunch of Miracle Man stuff, including the taking over of the Marvel world and Marvel universes as his powers, and I was expecting him to be a little bit more kind of infiltrating, but that didn't happen. So I have submitted a sequel panel for my previous year's panel about the British invasion. See how that pans out. But the one panel I have put forward, and I really would like to see if I could do something with, is about VR and comics. And I do want to talk about that very quickly on the show, about something that is interesting to me. I have two VR headsets. I think I've got my other one directly behind me, but I do have a Quest 3. Might not look a little bit like a Quest 3 because it's got a cover on there, but no, that is a Quest 3, and it is one of the more exciting things that I've bought. I'm not a gamer, so I didn't buy a Quest originally for that. The reason why I bought a Quest is for virtual cinema. This was back when obviously the pandemic had shut all the cinemas down. The last film I'd been to see was Birds of Prey, and next thing you know, you couldn't get out and you couldn't see a film. My brother did get himself a kind of like a cinema headset with some very nice speakers, but the cameras were basically two TV screens super glued to the inside, which if you kind of squinted and turned your head to the side, it looked like a big screen. But that's a different prospect when you're talking about VR. And it really did do something very special when it came to virtual cinema. And that is what I primarily use it for, along with VR Walkabout Mini Golf, which is a game which I do happen to like playing online with my brother. Which makes me wonder why, when you've got the ability to look into a virtual world and interact with virtual objects and things that you can, so like you can't see in the real world, but something that you could possibly have some form of tactile interaction with because you've got the sensors of a VR headset. Why comics hasn't been more embraced by that, which is why the idea of comics and the comics and VR, it's something that I really wanted to kind of do a presentation on, because what I have seen is so slim and so slight on VR. I've got it on screen right now. We've got a screen capture of Quest 3, and I search for readers and I search for comics. There are a couple of apps out there. You've got the Adobe Acrobat app, which isn't rated particularly well. You've got the Kindle Reader, which again is just it's almost like a subscription service. You can only get things which are on the Kindle service. I want to try and find things which are a little bit more available, and that you could get your own books in. Say, for example, PDFs, or if you've created CBZs or CBRs, the zipped formats, which can be played on laptops and iPads. There are some readers out there that are available, but like I say, they're a bit stilted, and they're not particularly, they seem very poorly developed. And then you go to comics and search for that, and that's even worse when you've got a couple of comics apps out there. I mean, there was one that I came across, which I'm putting on screen right now, which is Spheretune. It is a VR comic platform developed for the Japanese market. So lots of manga, lots of, I mean, the interaction looks amazing, but it's very much a case of a kind of 3D animation rather than actual comics. I'm a big fan of the comics that we get every month and the reading experience. Yes, I'm going to show you an example of something else, a kind of virtual comics setup. It's a very good point, Andrew. I'll come back to that in a second. But there are some, it's just so slight when it comes to, I mean, we're looking at the App Store. There's two ways you can actually do apps when it comes to the virtual setup for Quest and on the Meta Store. You can either get them directly from the App Store, or you can use something called SideQuest. SideQuest is where developers put together apps which you can then load onto your Quest 3, and they put forward to Meta and to Facebook to be developed and launched as full-blown, fully fledged apps. Which is why the next one which I've looked at is this, which is Enviro, which is a virtual world, as you can see, a grayscale setup with actual comics there, which you can load into your library. You can also, as well as grabbing hold of the controller there, you can actually have your pass-through up and running, so you can have your ability to read your comics in your world and have a little bit of ambience as well. So you've got summertime, you've got rain, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. I don't know if I've got the sound coming through, probably not. But you've got a little campfire vibe going off there, a bit windy, perhaps, who knows. Yeah, these definitely these different environments, even the sound environment, even though the actual environment you're looking at, this kind of like grayscale environment, doesn't change. But then you actually have the books themselves. We've got here a PDF, which is a preview of the Judge Dredd Apocalypse War, the Nocterra, which was my digital reward when I backed Scott Snyder's work with Tony S. Daniel, the digital piece, and it's almost like a behind the scenes of that first issue of Nocterra. And then you've got a preview issue of Wonder Woman, which, because I'm on a press list, I've managed to get a digital copy previewed for release. But as you can see, you can actually kind of grab the page and it folds in front of you as it peels across. And you can also, if you really want to, expand the size. So that is actually more like a 5-foot comic book floating in front of you. But it's fully interactive, and like I say, you just swipe your controller, or indeed if you're using hand controllers, across the page, and it turns just like a comic book right there in front of you. Grab the book and close it, and like I say, put it to one side. This is Wonder Woman. This is issue number 6. Came out a couple of weeks ago. Like I say, I got myself a digital press copy, and as you can see, the colors are nice and vibrant. It's for me, it's a really cool read. It's a great way to just kind of like have my books, or have some books there wherever I am, and just kind of like read them in a digital environment. It's a slightly more tactile way of reading than, say, just on an iPad. But it's a way to just kind of have my library, and it's just a great way of doing comics, I feel, and they look really impressive. Andrew English is turning around saying not everyone can afford a £500 headset. Also saying, I haven't tried the Quest 3, but I have the same problem with VR units. Is it something that you have a problem when it comes to just feeling a little shell-shocked and seasick and sort of like discombobulated? Understandable. I mean, there are loads of reasons why you should get a VR headset. There's also loads of reasons why you shouldn't. Number one, that whole motion sickness thing does affect many people, and I've only really been hit with motion sickness through a World War II flying game, and it kind of hit me because I was throwing the plane around all over the place, and next thing you know, I was upside down and feeling slightly nauseous. The other main reason as well why VR is struggling still. I mean, this is a very impressive piece of kit. Like you say, it is about £500, says Andrew. This is the Quest 3. It's the latest headset from Meta, or from Facebook. And of course, you've got the infamous Vision, Apple Vision Pro at $3.5 grand, whatever. Glasses, fogging, pressure of unit, motion sickness. Again, loads of really good reasons. Andrew's coming up with those as well. Admittedly, with the headsets, you can get prescription lenses. You can get the ability to get lenses that will fit inside these, but I do get that. For me, however, the big reason why people aren't taking this to the mainstream is, as the missus quite rightly says, you do end up looking a bit of a dick wearing one of these. The community rip of VR is very accurate. A number of the Simpsons rips and indeed Family Guy rips on VR is very accurate. But I believe I feel there's a lot of things going for it. Like I say, there's one more video that I want to show as well. This is, I don't know if the sound's coming through, unlikely, but this is a presentation done by Sky Interactive with some really good and talented comic artists. This was released about 2 years ago, so you'd really hope that they were going to take this concept and run with it. Apparently the sound is working. This is Angel Eyes. Okay. Now remember, what you are seeing on screen at the moment is very 2D, but the actual presentation on screen, you're getting full 3D, but of art rendered graphics. So these are not VR, they're not AR generated, they're not put together by some sort of computer. They have been drawn by comic artists, and those comic artists have had some real interaction with the developers to make the graphics look as cool as they can, and also really interact. Again, in 3D as well, so you're seeing kind of like a 2D representation of what the wearer sees, but there's a lot of depth. All of these elements here are moving in 3D. There's a real kind of sense of atmosphere. The music is really well produced. You can tell there's some serious money that's been put forward as well. And as you can see, it's not for the faint-hearted, but it looks amazing. And what they've done with Angel Eyes is a really impressive introduction. The question then becomes, is it because it's too expensive to produce? Why hasn't this kind of thing been embraced a bit more, and why hasn't it been pushed more by the developers? It's something that I do want to talk about. Andrew, my audio is suffering slightly while this video is on. Hopefully that's improved a bit there. But yes, I would like to have seen, or would like to see, a little bit more development, and I'd like to find out why VR is not being embraced by the mainstream, and indeed why comics seem to have not really looked into this. I'm also really curious to see if it's something perhaps because of the digital nature of comics. The industry's been burnt before. We've seen developers come and go as they've tried to get comics onto a digital platform, and you either get it right or you end up being folded up and just discarded, and no one just seems to take what your thoughts on VR and indeed the digital platforms. Yeah, it's something that I really want to get into. What are your thoughts? Is that something that you feel that if you had a headset, you'd get into? Would you? I mean, if you have a VR headset, have you looked into comics? Have you looked into reading, perhaps, in a digital platform on VR? Is it something that you feel? I mean, I know that wearing a headset for an extended period of time, is it something that you can get your head around to do a VR experience? Yeah, if you are a Quest 3 user, or if you've got yourself an Apple Vision Pro, comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts are. I mean, Aaron Nabus puts a good comment forward. I think had the pandemic lasted a bit longer, VR would have been a bit more popular. Well, I think we're rather glad that the pandemic has moved on. But this last year, I mean, 2020, Christmas 2022 into 23, the Meta app, the Oculus app, was the biggest app on the iOS store for I think it was like a week and a half, as everyone got themselves the Quest 2. The Quest 3, again, for Christmas this year, it was the biggest app downloaded for a 4-day stretch. Andrew English is asking, what is the Quest weight like? Would it give you neck ache? For myself, It's nicely close to the eye line. It's a smaller device than the Quest 2. All of that really is just that's the heavy technical bit, and it's all nicely balanced out. I personally think, I mean, I can wear this for a reasonable length of time. After about maybe 2-3 hours, the length of a film, as it happens, I do kind of struggle a bit, but thankfully the battery doesn't last that long, so it kind of gives you that that time to step away and turn it off and put something else on, or do whatever else you need to. That's the difference between the approach from Meta and Apple and their Vision Pro. They want you to wear that as a MacBook on your head for the duration of a day or working day. I can't see how that works. Without actually trying the Vision Pro for myself, I can't personally. Being inside a virtual world is great for short bursts, the length of a film, the length of reading 2 or 3 comics. Depends how fast you read, of course. But yeah, playing a couple of rounds of golf, perhaps. We're not only on this broadcasting on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter for pros and cons of that one, but we also are on Twitch, and we've got ourselves Bubble Gum Gam. Hello, Bubble Gum Gam. Hello there, welcome you. Does the head adjustment make it more comfortable? For me, yes. Now, this is a slightly adapted version of the Quest 3 because this also has the bob over headrest and also battery, additional battery support. So it all kind of sits nicely on the head. But for me, I mean, even out of the box, I think it's a really solid, nicely weighted. It's not too heavy, and it for me, it's a nice. For me, it's a great piece of kit. I would not have dropped the money on the Quest 3 if the Quest 2 hadn't sold me on VR. Michael P. Apple will sell a chair to recline in for the entire day. Yeah. And I'm stunned that they haven't really rolled out a raft of really expensive editions, but I think they're more than happy to see people fork out the $3.5 grand on a single item, and that's base unit as well. It can go even more so with the Apple Vision Pro. Still want to play with one. Still want to see what that is like as a immersive experience, but again. As far as I'm aware, there are no decent comic readers. I'd like to know why. What do you think? Comics on VR, can it work? You've seen the videos. Hopefully that's sold you a little bit on that. Right. What else can we talk about? Yes, let's do a couple of things which are my regular features of the week. Now, admittedly, I would like to have some graphics on screen and maybe a little bit of a jingle. Maybe next week I'll get this all rendered up, but let's do first things first, our comic of the week. I've chosen a book which isn't exactly the best kept secret on comics because it's still got an audience. It's still barreling on after numerous issues. We'll get to that in a second. Let's do some honorable mentions first. And let's go for Undiscovered Country. Scott Snyder, Charles Schul, and we've got Callum Cooley on art as well. You've got all sorts of amazing talent, Gracie Wilson, etc. Undiscovered Country back with issue number 28 came out on Wednesday, and it's really starting to get into some very strange worlds. I mean, the world building was already quite solid with Undiscovered Country, but for the first three arcs, sorry, it was about that deconstruction of what the United States of America is. Now it's starting to really get into kind of like the metaverse as well of what the United States is and its relation to the rest of the world. I found an interesting trailer show up at the beginning of Dune when I went to see it earlier, and I'll talk about that in a second. Yes, a film called Civil War, which there's a lot of things I feel if you are a reader of Undiscovered Country, I suspect this film could interest you as well. But Undiscovered Country, great read, but it isn't my comic of the week. Likewise, Zoe Thorogood, /Back to School. We're on issue number 3, and this story and the attitude that it gives, Zoe is just absolutely knocking it out of the park, and I would heartily recommend checking it out. However, the book that is my comic of the week is Marjorie Liu's and Sana Tanaka's Monstrous. We're on issue number 49, published by Image Comics, and my God, this continues to be number one of the most beautiful comics on the stands, and just pure world building, and just a wonderful fantasy world, which still it has this wonderful tactile feel on the page, and the like I say, the artwork is just absolutely staggering, what Sana is doing with this particular book. But set in a matriarchal world inspired by earlier 20th century Asia, and tells the story of Maker Half-Wolf, a teenage girl who shares a mysterious psychic link with a powerful monster. The background to the story is a war between the Arcanics, magical creatures who sometimes can pass for human, and the Human Federation, led by the Chimera, an order of sorcerers who consume Arcanics to fuel their power. We're now seeing the return of Maker Half-Wolf back to the main storyline, and just the tension that has been generated with her return, but also just the politics of the characters that we've seen. But again, like I say, Sana Tanaka's artwork is just absolutely glorious. It's just beautifully shaded, and how this isn't kind of like being pimped as one of the premier comics that you can buy on the shelf is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. The fact that we are still on a massive run at the moment, and there doesn't seem to be much drop in the energy for what Marjorie Liu's doing and bringing to the world, but it should have more people reading it, and I heartily recommend checking it out. It is monstrous. It is my comic of the week, and yeah, as you can see from the artwork, it's just well worth checking out, if anything, just for the beauty of the thing. But no, it's a great story as well, and I highly recommend it. That is monstrous. Out last week. Do check it out. It is my comic of the week. And social of the week, I'm going to recommend this person. I'm trying my best to recommend accounts which are less than 2,000 followers, 1,850. And Why Mike, which is threads.net/doodlebags. Why Mike is an absolutely one of the biggest things on Threads and on social media, is just absolutely beyond me, because it's just a highlight of my timeline. Every single time I go onto Threads, and Doodlebags shows up in my timeline. Just some amazing work, great shading, and just really fun presentation, and highly recommend checking them out. Subscribe today, and you can get to see things like this wonderful Scarlet Witch, which is just, it shows such life and bounce, and some real kind of a real nice take to characters. I mean, just the sketches that he puts up on his social. Check it out, threads.net/doodlebags, DOODLEBAGS. Highly recommended, and that is my social of the week right there. Check it out. Right. Okay, we're going to wrap things up, because I think we're going to lose the Instagram guys pretty soon, but we're going to do a two-part thing now. Basically, earlier on today, I went to see Dune Part 2. You've got Michael P saying, indeed, IMAX almost sold out every show today for Dune Part 2. It's the first week. It got into cinemas on Friday. Reviews have been coming out already, if you've been seeing these already. And this is where I can give my review. There is going to be some spoilers in the second part of this, and I'll put it up on the screen. The moment you see the word spoilers, that's when I'm going to start getting into a bit of chat about the actual film. But first things first, my initial thoughts. I have been a long-time fan of Dune. I've got my 4 or 5 copies upstairs, including the one with the Neil Gaiman introduction. I've got the graphic novel adaptation as well, which was given to me as a Christmas present. But the actual book itself is something which was a formative part of my sci-fi reading when I was a kid. I was really looking forward to seeing what Andrew English put stream on mute. Don't worry, if you see the word spoilers on it, that's when I'll start getting into some spoiler stuff. But this is all about my initial thoughts about Dune Part 2. First things first, as a fan of the first film, I really enjoyed Dune Part 1, and I was really curious to see what Denis Villeneuve was going to do with Part 2, because while some people have been turning around and saying it was a mountain to climb, as Mark Kermode said on his review, for me, it's slight against the world building of Part 1. I felt that Part 2 had less to do. But then when you're actually watching Part 2 and the way that Denis has put it up on the screen, you actually realize exactly what that meant, because it's not about the world building and finding out about Paul, finding out about the landscape of the Harkonnens, finding out about the political machinations against the House Atreides. It's now about finding out what Paul is, what he wants to be, and what the rest of the world of Arrakis want him to be as well. They have been looking for a savior. They've been trained for it by the Bene Gesserit, and now it's time to find out whether Paul is going to live up to that expectation, or indeed who's going to kick against the pricks and become his own man, while still wanting to gain revenge for the decimation of his family at the hands of the Harkonnens. As a visual, expansive feast for the eyes, I would, this is definitely a film that's been designed for the biggest screen possible. I saw it in laser IMAX, and it just looked astonishing. You can tell that every single penny has been put up onto the screen, and the cinematography, the astonishing score, which is just almost relentless. It's just kind of like hammering you into the seat. The seat was rattling from this phenomenal soundtrack, both of sound effect and of Hans Zimmer's score. It just absolutely shook the seat, and it is very much a big, expansive film. Anybody who watches this on a small TV or on their iPad or on their phone, I don't know what on earth they're going to make of it, because it needs to be seen on the biggest screen you can find. And I know that that is just the one of the catch-alls when it comes to recommending a film. But no, this is very much a big screen event. It's an event. It feels like an event, and it absolutely delivers in that regard. Everyone on screen is doing quality work. Although I will say there are a couple of people that are a little bit underserved. I feel that there are some that need still. There are some that are actually kind of presented and given a little bit of a two-dimensional canvas, and it's a shame, because those characters are so rich on the page, and there's so much history there. This way, in some of this, they're giving a little bit of that single motivation, and that is their driving force. When the whole idea of Dune, and indeed what Frank Herbert did with the original book, it's about the various pushes and pulls of influence and drive and desires, and also just machinations in the background. But Timothée Chalamet doing an amazing job, considering that he started out as a wee nipper in the first film, and here he's starting to grow into a very much a man on a mission. Although something that I was hoping for from the book was that the world and the story was actually going to take over the period of years, that this was going to be a long gestating story of revenge and growth and development, and just that whole aspect of how the story was going to be pitched. But if you're watching this, you may actually think that the whole thing's, this whole story was done in a week. It does feel like it tracks on That being said, as well, I mean, we'll talk about the pacing. People talk about films when they're overly long, but they are too long. I mean, this is nearly coming up to a 3-hour movie. It doesn't feel like it. Those films that have been perfectly structured, and those films that have been really well made and tempoed by their director, by the editing team, when they crack on that easy pace, this is a film that doesn't feel like a 3-hour movie, and I didn't feel like I was in that world for that length of time. If anything, I felt I could have been in the world of Arrakis for a little bit longer. I will recommend it highly. I am possibly going to go against the grain for many people. I actually felt that part one was the better film for the job that it had to do to establish the world of Dune, of Arrakis, of the Fremen, of the Atreides, of the Harkonnens. This one, while it's still got a lot to do, it kind of lets what we've learned so far a little bit behind, and it's a shame. I felt that there was not a discontinuity, considering that this film literally starts the second that the last film ended. You can seriously watch this as a double feature, but for me, it didn't quite live up to the promise of the first film from a storytelling perspective. On a cinematic experience, it absolutely delivers. The hype is very much real. But for a film, I actually prefer part one. I would like to see what this feels like watching it from part one all the way through part two. Part one for me was a strong 8. This is a medium 8. It's just slightly below it, but I think that's because it is to be enjoyed as a single film. That's my impressions of Dune. And this is where I'm now going to put spoiler alert up on the screen. If you are about to leave me and leave the stream, I completely understand. Go and see Dune before you hear anything I'm about to say next. This is the reason why I've left it right to the very end, and I'm not going to do anymore. I've seen 1 or 2 people leaving already. If you are leaving, don't forget we have our special show on Wednesday with Tom King, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. Incidental episode. It's going to be a fun chat, I think, and I'd love to know how long I'm going to get with him. But I'll chat with Tom for as long as I possibly can. So hopefully you can join us for that. And of course, do join us next week for another episode of Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. However, spoilers, Dune 2. Let's crack on with it. The reason why the book of Dune by Frank Herbert is so popular is because it has so much stuff going on. It can be read in many, many different ways. It can be just read as a young boy's journey from the water-soaked planet of Caladan to becoming the leader of the Fremen and the Messiah in chief that picks up the sword and transforms Dune. Or you can read it as a political allegory backwards and forwards between the land houses of the Landstrad, House Atreides, House Harkonnen, who's got the power, who really has the power, who's pulling the strings, and you can read it as a political treatise. Or you can read it as a very much a religious story as well, in terms of what religion means 10,000 years down the line. For me, the joy of Dune is seeing how religion, politics, and society is being weaponized and manipulated in back then, the 1980s, when I read the book back when I was a kid. 2024, when reading it now, it feels even more resonant, and seeing the through line, and you can absolutely see how the world of Dune could exist the way that the world has been shaped and manipulated. For me, Dune has 2 just important threads and themes. Number 1, what if Jesus Christ came back and he told organized religion and the organized Catholic Church to go fuck themselves? That's Dune. You have a Messiah that has been genetically engineered through generations to be the leader and the one that will take religion forward, not just for the Fremen, but for the entire universe, controlled by the Bene Gesserit. And Paul shows up, and certainly in the film, in the books, he shows up and basically says, that is not what is going to happen. I have now ascended to this power, and I ain't playing your game. That's Dune. Then, of course, you've got the other end of it as well, where you've got the politics, the machinations, the who's controlling what, why are they controlling each other, who is doing what, and that evolution and the weaponization of religion and business. It's a fascinating way of reading the books. The films try desperately to look into those themes, but I get the sneaking suspicion that Denis Villeneuve has missed the point. Of the books, he very much he reads his own take of Dune. But what he wants to see is a young lad taking the fight to the Harkonnens. He wants to see Paul embrace the role of the Kwisatz Haderach, not necessarily embrace the actual the reality of being that, but he just wants to take that those abilities that he's been given by his mother and by the Bene Gesserit Church, and basically take it to the Harkonnens as a revenge fantasy. For me, one of the key themes that comes from the book is about it's poison. There's poison, and there's also schemes within schemes within schemes. One of the big there's a fight sequence in the middle where we are introduced to Fade Ralpha Harkonnen. At which point, in the fight sequence, he's in a gladiatorial bout against three remaining Atreides fighters, and one of them has not been drugged. The other two have. It's his birthday celebration. It's supposed to be an easy fight for Fade, but one of them has been left undrugged. And in the film, it's because Baron Harkonnen has decided that for his psychopathic cousin, he's going to leave this undrugged fighter as a challenge. In the book, it's Thufir Hawat, the Mentat, who's playing both sides, both Fade Ralpha and the Baron against each other. And then you've got Lady Fenrig, who's also playing her bits and pieces in the background. Everyone's playing their game, and everyone's playing and pulling the strings. In this, it's very kind of stripped back. You've got no Thufir Hawat in this film, and that I missed a lot. I missed the machination, even the plans of the Emperor against Duke Atreides. That's been kind of stripped back and just level pegged, and it's almost like Denny he was bored by all of that. He just wanted to just get on with it. Let's just get to the pew fight bit. Let's go with that. When in actual fact you could be talking about the Bene Gesserit really kind of playing all the angles. You've got the Guild Navigators. They've been completely stripped away from this. The Mentats have been stripped away. They pull as much away from the meat of the bones, and it's only just keeping enough on there to justify the film. But there's been too much that is being taken away for me. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy it, but I felt that there was so much stuff that was missing. Admittedly, we are talking about a monster book, but the Lord of the Rings managed to pull it off. Why did this not quite work? The other element of it as well is if you really read the book, you can actually think to yourself that none of the people on screen are actually anybody that you want to root for. They are not only the 1%, they are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. They are the super uber rich. This isn't just Exxon. This is something else. These are the people who will be up against the wall when the revolution comes. Every single person on screen you really shouldn't be rooting for. But as it happens, we want to try and make them relatable. So you don't see this super opulence of the Atreides, of the Harkonnens. It's all kind of like stripped to kind of a European sense of style and stripped back minimalism. Denis Villeneuve there, when in actual fact they will be swimming in gold and absolutely so like, yeah, they'd be. They should have this absolute wealth on screen, but you do that, and you can have an audience that's just going, "Why on earth should we root for any of you?" You've got Paul, who's straight out for revenge, but he's playing the Messiah to do it, and you've got everybody else who's just who should be up against the wall, like say when the revolution comes. The revolution should come at the hands of the Fremen. And yes, they are our heroes of the piece. But even at the back end, they start getting a little bit swept up in their own religious fervor for you to just panic about whether to actually truly support them for their for what they're believing and what they want from the end game of for Arrakis and for their own future. It's so close. Maybe it's just because I'm such a massive fan of the book, and considering that what he does and what Denis Villeneuve does with the final act and the final scenes of this film, what is missing is it's just too much for me. We don't get Aaliyah of the Knife. We get a form of Aaliyah, which is Paul's sister, but we don't get the supernatural element of it. And I'm wondering if it was a case of Denny just going, he's either thinking, okay, it's a bit weird to have a small 3-year-old girl on screen talking with the voice of a grown-up because she has been developed in the fetus and she comes out fully conscious. Whether it be too hard to sell. Not only that, but you then also have to go through the idea of this story lasting years. And I think he wants to just barrel it along in much the same way like Lord of the Rings. That was supposed to have lasted a good 12 years, 15 years in the story. And in fact, oh no, the ring showed up. They went on a quest. They got through it in the volcano. What was it? Week and a half, if that. This stripping down for cinematic experience, and then there's just kind of just taking too much meat off the bone. I would have liked to have had a little bit more meat and muscle on the bone. That's just me. Still well worth checking out, still worth watching, and I enjoyed it still. That's why I gave it an 8, which for me is okay. Yeah, the hype is real when it comes to the visuals, but for the actual story itself, a little bit too much has been taken away for me. But there we go. Right. Spoiler banner gone. There you go. All over. Thank you very much indeed for the comments. We've got 1 or 2 people joining in on that. You got Andrew English. For all we know, he could be trolling us with how to make Yorkshire pudding. You've also got Michael P. I enjoy watching his enthusiasm on mood. Thank you. I'm a little bit over enthusiastic with the hands, but yeah, you never know. And yeah, everyone's just thinking I was trolling. I flicked sound on and off and got the word Endgame, so we must be talking about Avengers. No, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. And you've got Chuck a Toilet. You've got Toby joining us. Lord of the Ring walk marathon. Yes, but a marathon's 26 miles. This only felt like 4 in the game in the Lord of the Rings films. It just felt they took too much of the meat from the meal for me. But there we go. Right, that's my show for today. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Once again, back again next Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. But of course, special show this Wednesday, 6th of March, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. Going to be talking to the one and only Tom King. get your comments in, get your questions. You can ask them down below, and I'll keep an eye on them and save them for the show. Or you can join us live and get your questions in to Tom. Considering you can talk to him about all the stuff he's done with Batman over the years. You can talk to him about The Vision, which is still one of my all-time favorite graphic novels. Just an amazing piece of work. You can talk to him about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which has been groomed as the baseline for the Supergirl film, which is going to be coming from the new DCEU from James Gunn. We could talk about that as well. What do you want to talk to Tom King about? That's going to be on Wednesday, and yeah, looking forward to that conversation a lot. But from me to you, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Thanks to everybody who jumped in on the comments. Thanks for turning off the mute for my spoiler chat about Dune. Hope you're going to go and see part 2 over the course of the next week. If you are, do you agree? Or did you agree? Watch this back. Let us know. Tell me what you thought, and indeed what your thoughts about Dune are. We'll get into that next week, perhaps, and have a bit of a Dune chat on next Sunday's show. But from me to you, enjoy the rest of your week. Don't work too hard, and I'll see you in seven days' time for the actual episode. But then I'll see you in 3 days' time for my chat with Tom King on Wednesday, March 6th. From me to you, we'll see you soon. Good night. God bless.